Hey everyone, it's Annie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with the speed build of, you guessed it, the Brulee Plantation. So before I get started, I want to remind all of you, as always, to smash that subscribe button so that you can continue getting updates on the videos that I post, especially because I think that I'm going to start doing more speed builds just because I love them so much. Okay. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the plantation. So here's my plan. I know I've spoken a lot about this lot. I've talked about it in 2 videos now. Basically, what I want to do is move the Brulee household into this mansion and basically make it like the quote-unquote hub of our playthrough. So that's why it's going to have multiple bedrooms, multiple bathrooms, multiple rooms to do multiple things, and a lot of land. And when I think about the placement of the lot, it was also very good because there's a lot to do around it too. Anyways, so here there will be room to develop lots of skills, create a sustainable income, and yep, I even thought of this. There's going to be a family cemetery on site. Kind of weird, but also kind of cool. So the first thing we should talk about is the plan for this house. I originally made this plan in a gridded notebook that I have to make sure that it was like perfectly planned out. I actually used to do that a lot as a kid. Well, not as a kid, but like when I first started playing this game years and years and years ago, I have like 2 or 3 gridded notebooks or graphing ruled notebooks filled with plans that I have of houses. And so I just grabbed one of those old ones and drew this out. Which actually kind of reminds me, who else draws out their house plans before making them? Let me know in the comments down below. But anyways, I made this house plan in my notebook. The bottom floor consisted of this middle foyer area that I'm building. It also had a downstairs studio and family area, a dining room, and a kitchen that's going to also ultimately have an eating area in there as well. Also, I made a bonus room in the back. It's a greenhouse because, like I said before, I want them to be able to make some form of sustainable income, and I thought that they would do that through gardening. Plus, I want to grow every plant that we can in the base game as part of like my playthrough. So what a better way to do it than in their big mansion? The bottom floor also had a wraparound porch and a back porch as well. And then the top floor ultimately will have 3 regular bedrooms and a master bedroom. Each of the individual bedrooms has a bathroom attached, and then the master bathroom has like this double master bath, which I'll kind of go into more detail about later. Ultimately, I also ended up making at least 1 balcony on the 2nd floor, but I was thinking about maybe having another one eventually. We'll see. So let's talk about the theming here of the build. I placed this build on the lot called Oakenstead in Willow Creek. Willow Creek's whole design is inspired by New Orleans. So I also think of this whole world or neighborhood, whatever, as like this perfect warm town. So I also wanted to bring almost like a southern farmstead flair into it as well, if that makes any sense. So I kept it the New Orleans plantation charm, all the while adding a lot of flair from my favorite southern style house from the TV show called Sharp Objects. Have you ever seen it? I actually read the book years ago, and it's one of my favorites. So this build kind of pays tribute to the beauty of the house used in the TV series from the book. It's kind of what I pictured a lot of the inside looking like, which is like the such as the main entryway, the dark dining room, the old-fashioned kitchen, especially this wraparound porch, and also like the first floor studio. I did decide to add the greenhouse in the back though, because like I said, that definitely wasn't part of the original build. So this is where things got a little bit challenging for me. I really haven't had a lot of experience playing around with roofs yet. I'm very used to The Sims 3, which has auto roofs, and that was kind of like my Lord and Savior back in the day. So a lot of this was me free roofing, as you saw before. It's just really hard. I originally actually had to reach out to this Sims group on Facebook that I actually talk about a lot. So Sims 4 Builders Official. And I had to reach out to them because I could not get a roof for this little porch area. And then they reminded me, they're like, you have to build a room first, which will create the flooring and then erase the room and then use the flooring to build the roof. So that's ultimately what I ended up doing. But I still am so not skilled in roof building that I actually became frustrated and ultimately ended up erasing the roof and creating this kind of double balcony area, this other secondary wraparound porch. Ultimately, right now, you can't use it as such. That's why I was saying before that, maybe eventually I'll end up making it into another balcony. But for the time being, it's really there more just for aesthetic reasons and for use reasons. Just because I was so flabbergasted with creating that roof area. So something else that I really liked about this lot was this whole front area up here. It's technically not part of the lot, that little wraparound driveway. So I used that to my advantage and pretended it was part of the lot ultimately and pushed back the house a little bit to create more depth. Also, this area that I'm currently struggling with at one point was supposed to just be roofing, but ultimately you'll see that I ended up turning it into a balcony just because I was so fed up with the struggle I had. So whichever kid gets this room, I gotta tell you, they're lucky little buggers to have their own balcony. So after finally figuring out the style I wanted for the balcony that I was actually going to end up using, I moved on to working on this upper floor area hallway thing. I don't know what you call it. I guess it is just a hallway. I tried to make it similar to the one from Sharp Objects in the way that you could be able to see downstairs from every doorway. This again was one of those times where I had to start by building a room to create the flooring just so that I could get rid of the flooring so that there'd be that hole so that you can look down at the floor below. Maybe there's an easier way to do this. Maybe there isn't. I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any tips or tricks for this part. So next came finding the ideal front door. Because this is such a large build, I originally wanted to use a door that had 2 openings, like a double door, but apparently the double doors use up 3 spaces while some of the bigger single doors use 2. And with the amount of spaces I used on the grid, it would be kind of off if I used a door with more than 2 spaces, it wouldn't be centered. So I was left using a 2 grid door. I was bummed at first, but ultimately I wasn't left too upset because it actually turned out to be one that I really liked. And something else that you'll notice a lot throughout this build is my use of archways. I did this as kind of a symbolic thing where I wanted the bottom floor to be very exposed and open, for the public, while the upstairs was ultimately all closed off with doors, which also kind of makes sense because they're bedrooms. And you gotta have privacy up there. So the next section that I started filming was the windows. With the reference images I found, I noticed that a lot of the style for the French Quarter houses had windows that were right on top of each other on the floors. This is actually a little bit challenging, particularly because sometimes the walls that I had originally made didn't match up evenly with the 2 grid windows. So I ultimately had to go back and move around some of the walls, as you'll see, because the combination of my stubbornness and OCD tendencies made it so I had to have the windows look a particular way, and I wouldn't settle for less. So as you can see, I just continued my way around the house with these really nice paneled windows. Is that what you call them? The only area that didn't have these styles of windows ultimately was the greenhouse that I built in the back on the bottom floor. This was hard, guys. I wanted to still kind of fit in with the style I had chosen. And at first I was a little bit concerned with the modernness of these windows, so I erased them and I looked for something a little bit more southern or French country, but ultimately realized that the first windows I chose were definitely the best ones for the part. They just really looked the most realistic for the greenhouse, but I still wanted to make them a little bit different, which is why I made them blue, because I don't know. I just kind of thought it was a little bit different from your typical greenhouse, I guess. So after that, I moved on to tweaking the inside a little bit. I focused on moving the walls a little bit, adding some arches and adding the doors, ultimately to the bathroom as well. This is where the master bath comes into play, which is super cool. I kind of wanted this open concept master bath, which is why I added the archway here. But I still wanted privacy for the toilet area, so I made the main part of the bathroom very open, eventually knowing that I'm going to put a dressing table, shower, etc. stuff in there, while leaving that smaller area just for the toilet on its own. So guys, this is where things got super hard. As I told you before, I'm just really not very well versed in building roofs. So doing this entire section was a super challenge. I actually had to look back at some reference videos for the kind of basic roof for this style of home and went with that. I didn't want to do anything too extravagant. I honestly just wanted something easy. I also really wanted the base of the house to be kind of like a stucco base or something really simple. Originally, I was thinking about something like brick or stone, but I thought that would be too noisy. And I really wanted the only like noise, if that's the right word, to be coming from the color of the windows. So thus began my hunt for finding the perfect wall covering. I'm happy with my ultimate choice, which looked like a stucco or a plaster with just a little bit of edging, because the stucco or plaster choices without it seemed too simple, and these added just the right amount of complexity to the outside. It's like Goldilocks, guys. You need it to be just right. So I kind of messed up here a little bit, guys, and I didn't end up filming all of the flooring, but ultimately where we are now is at the very simple wood flooring everywhere, except for the greenhouse, which has a more complex checker tile with stone wall, and I also added green wallpaper to the foyer. And then came the game of basically playing around with wallpapers, trying to find something that was both simple and elegant. For the most part, I wanted the family rooms to be a little bit more lighter, except for the dining area, which for some reason I was really set on having be like a brown theme. I can't remember fully, but I think that's how it might have also been in Sharp Objects, but I'm not really sure. But I know growing up that lots of my friends' dining rooms happened to be this darker color for some reason too. I don't know. I like darker dining rooms. They're more intimate. I wanted the same kind of dark theme ultimately for the master bedroom too. I'm really not sure why. I just kind of wanted it to be darker. Looking at it now, I wish I did dark green paint instead of brown, but oh well. I don't even know if they actually have that in the game. Whatever. So when it comes to all the bedrooms and bathrooms upstairs, besides the master bedroom and bathroom, I wanted them all to just generally look similar because I wasn't sure what the kid situation was ultimately going to be. So I just wanted kind of like a neutral finished look for all of them. So that's why you can see what I did for the bathrooms is just kind of give them all this cute little pink plaid wall. I also really didn't want to do too much landscaping right now, only because that would be unnecessary money that the Brulees can't really afford right now. But I wanted to prepare myself a bit, which is why I put some fencing, just because I knew that that was ultimately what I wanted anyways, and then I could plan the actual landscaping around that when the time comes. So the next thing on my list was really just to add some very basic furniture, like starter furniture, which is why I gave them the cheapest things I could find, just so that they at least had something in there for them to use. The only actually expensive piece of furniture I did was the master bed, only because I knew if I didn't do it now, I would never ultimately end up doing it, and I wanted them to have a very nice, fancy bed. So there you have it, guys. This is the final build. Remember that I really didn't want to furnish the heck out of this place only because of the fact that we're ultimately going to be furnishing it throughout the playthrough depending on our Sims needs. So I didn't want to jump the gun and assume certain things. And also it would cost a chunk of money to furnish this place, which I didn't want to have to wait to do, and no cheats, so no free real estate or anything like that. So I just didn't want to furnish it fully. I really hope you enjoyed watching this speed build. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to like this video as well as comment down below and you tell me what you thought. And as always, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you can continue getting updates on other videos that are going to come. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see you later.